What's going on, guys? Welcome to Get Into the Facts. I'm your host, Andrew Curiel. You already know what it is, and I appreciate you guys tuning in today. But we got a cool little topic to go over. We've got a lot of tension going on right now with the Israel, Hamas, the whole Gaza thing. There's a lot of rhetoric on both sides going out there, good and bad, right? But what is going on right now that's kind of going a little viral is there's deans of colleges. I mean, we're not just talking, some community college in a little state. No. We're talking Harvard. We're talking UPenn. Like, we're talking these big colleges, guys. These elite colleges that should be, if we're talking about free, obviously you got to balance freedom of speech, but you also have to balance the rights of everybody in the school to be able to go to school in a safe area, right? So, and I've looked at both sides of this, guys. I've looked at both sides, and yes, are there protests and rallies and marches that are pro-Israel and pro-Jew? Yeah, there are, but the only ones that I've been able to see, and I've been trying to do a deep dive to find other ones that don't correlate with this at all, but the only protests that I'm seeing that are pro-Palestine or pro-Hamas are turning violent and going towards being pro like genocide of a certain group. And that is where we need to kind of differ on what is allowed and what's not when you're talking about a school, right? What's allowed on campus. And the students have to feel safe, no matter if you're Jewish or Palestinian, black, white, yellow, purple, really don't matter. Everybody should feel safe being on school and on campus. And that's the issue that we have right now with the deans of these schools going to a Congress meeting, and they could not say that calling for the genocide of Jews goes against their policy. I don't care if they're calling for the genocide of Jews or calling for the genocide of Palestinians or calling for the genocide of whoever. If they're calling for the genocide, like if they're calling for the genocide of a certain group, that should be an immediate, yes, that's against our guidelines. That's against school campus policy. But they weren't able to do it. And I got the video for you guys just to see what they actually said and just to see what really happened in that. And you make the determination on if this is allowed or not. I don't think that it's anti-Semitic necessarily, but it's calling for the killing of a group of people. And no matter what that is, like, you don't have to label it anti-Semitic. It's just you're not that means you're calling for the destruction of a certain group of people. That's just that's beyond racism. Like, when you're calling for the death of a group of people, not knowing the individuals, not knowing anything else, that is just blatant discrimination to the highest degree right there. So we're going to get into it, guys. I got a couple things to show you, but again, welcome. Appreciate you guys being here. Like always, just make sure we smash that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We're going to get right into it, all right? But we got this here. And this is from New York Times. College presidents under fire after dodging questions about anti-Semitism. Support for the presidents of Harvard, the University of Pennsylvania, and MIT eroded quickly on Wednesday after they seemed to evade what seemed like a rather simple question during a contentious congressional hearing. Would they discipline students calling for the genocide of Jews? Their lawyerly replies to that question and others during a 4-hour hearing drew incredulous responses. It's unbelievable that this needs to be said. Calls for genocide are monstrous and antithetical to everything we represent as a country, said a White House spokesman, Andrew Bates. Josh Shapiro, the Democratic governor of Pennsylvania, said he found the responses by Elizabeth McGill, Penn's president, unacceptable. Even the liberal academic Lawrence Tribe found himself agreeing with Representative Elise Stefanik, Republican of New York, who sharply questioned Harvard's president, Claudine Gay. I'm no fan of Rep. Stefanik, but but I'm with her here, the Harvard law professor wrote on the social media site X. Claudine Gay's hesitant, formulaic, and bizarrely evasive answers were deeply troubling to me and many of my colleagues, students, and friends. In their opening remarks and throughout the hearing, Dr. Gay, Miss McGill, and Sally Kornbluth of MIT all said they were appalled by anti-Semitism and taking action against it on campus. When asked whether they supported the right of Israel to exist, they answered yes, without equivocation. But on the question of disciplining students for statements about genocide, they tried to give lawyerly responses to a tricky question involving free speech, which supporters of academic freedom said were legally correct. That's debatable. But to many Jewish students, alumni, and donors who had watched campus pro-Palestinian protests with trepidation and fear, the statements by the university presidents failed to meet the political moment by not speaking clearly and forcefully against anti-Semitism. It should not be hard to condemn genocide against Jews, genocide against anyone else, Governor Shapiro said on Wednesday in a meeting with reporters. I've said many times, leaders have a responsibility to speak and act with moral clarity, and Liz McGill failed to meet that simple test. There should be no nuance to that. She needed to give a one-word answer, he added. By Wednesday afternoon, a petition called for Miss McGill's resignation had grown to more than 3,000 signatures. Mark Rowan, the chief of Apollo Global Management, the board chair at the Wharton School of Business at Penn, asked the board of trustees to resign their support for Miss McGill. How much damage to our reputation are we willing to accept, he wrote in a letter to the trustees. Governor Shapiro, who is a non-voting member of Penn's board, urged the trustees to meet soon. University sources speaking on background said that efforts were underway to hold a board meeting by phone this week. The university did not respond immediately to a request for comment. Much of the criticism landed heavily on Ms. McGill because of an extended back and forth with Representative Stefanik. Ms. Stefanik said that in a campus protest, students had chanted support for Intifada, an Arabic word that means uprising, and that many Jews hear as a call for violence against them. Ms. Stefanik asked Ms. McGill, does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Penn's rule or code of conduct, yes or no? Ms. McGill replied, if the speech turns into conduct, it can be harassment. Ms. Stefanik pressed the issue. I am asking specifically, calling for the genocide of Jews, does that constitute bullying her or harassment? Ms. McGill, a lawyer who joined Penn last year with a pledge to promote campus free speech, replied, if it is directed and severe, pervasive, it is harassment. Ms. Stefanik responded, so the answer is yes. Ms. McGill said, it is context-dependent decision, Congresswoman. Ms. Stefanik exclaimed, that's your testimony today? Calling for the genocide of Jews is depending upon the context? I mean, guys, she's not wrong. Like, it depends on the context? What are you talking about? They're chanting Antifada. They're chanting for the destruction of a certain group of people. If that is not bullying and harassment at the highest level, so you're telling me that in order for it to be bullying and harassment, it needs to be directed at one individual? What about hundreds or thousands of people rallying together in a protest, chanting the same thing at a group of people? What is that, guys? Like, what is that? Like, that is clearly against what they're saying. Clearly goes against their code of conduct and the rules that they have in place. It is just absolutely amazing to me that they aren't able to say that. And it's not even about just Jews. It's not even, if they were chanting that about black people, about any minority, or about anybody else, that's clearly harassment and bullying, guys. Clearly. So we're going to hear it from the horse's mouth, because I don't want you just hearing my opinion on things based on just one article. I want to go based off the video as well. So let's watch what we got here and see what you think. Make sure you put it in the comments what you really think about this. But this is just absolutely crazy to me. All right, let's see what we got.
Protected free speech at Harvard, correct?
Our commitment to free speech...
It's a yes or no question. Is that corrected? Is that okay for students to call for the mass murder of African Americans at Harvard? Is that protected free speech?
Our commitment to free speech...
It's a yes or no question. Let me ask you this. You are president of Harvard, so I assume you're familiar with the term intifada, correct?
I've heard that term, yes.
And you understand that the use of the term intifada in the context of the Israeli-Arab conflict is indeed a call for violent armed resistance against the state of Israel, including violence against civilians and the genocide of Jews. Are you aware of that?
That type of hateful speech is personally abhorrent to me.
And there have been multiple marches at Harvard with students chanting, quote, "There is only one solution, intifada revolution," and, quote, "globalize the intifada." Is that correct?
I've heard that thoughtless, reckless, and hateful language on our campus, yes.
So based upon your testimony, you understand that this call for intifada is to commit genocide against the Jewish people in Israel and globally, correct?
I will say again, that type of hateful speech is personally abhorrent to me.
Do you believe that type of hateful speech is contrary to Harvard's code of conduct, or is it allowed at Harvard?
It is at odds with the values of Harvard.
Can you
But
not
our
say here that it
values
is against the
also-
code of conduct at Harvard?
We embrace a commitment to free expression, even of views that are objectionable, offensive, hateful. It's when that speech crosses into conduct that violates our policies against bullying, harassment,
Does that speech
and
not
intimidation.
cross that barrier? Does that speech not call for the genocide of Jews and the elimination of Israel?
When
You
that speech-
testify that you understand that is the definition of intifada. Is that speech
speech-
according to the code of conduct or not?
We embrace a commitment to free expression and give a wide berth to free expression, even of views that are objectionable.
You and I
outrageous,
both know
and
that's not the
offensive.
case. You were aware that Harvard ranked dead last when it came to free speech. Are you not aware of that report?
As I observed earlier, I reject that characterization.
It's the
of our
data shows
campus.
it's true. And isn't it true that Harvard previously rescinded multiple offers of admissions for applicants and accepted freshmen for sharing offensive memes, racist statements, sometimes as young as 16 years old? Did Harvard not rescind those offers of admission?
That long predates my time as president.
But you
so I can't
understand
speak.
that Harvard made that decision to rescind those offers of admission.
I have no reason to contradict the facts as you present them. here.
Correct, because it's a fact. You're also aware that a Winthrop House faculty dean was let go over who he chose to legally represent, correct? That was while you were dean.
That is an incorrect characterization of what transpired.
What's the characterization?
I'm not going to get into details about a personnel matter.
Well, let me ask you this. Will admissions offers be rescinded or any disciplinary action be taken against students or applicants who say, "From the river to the sea" or "Intifada," advocating for the murder of Jews?
As I've said, that type of hateful, reckless, offensive speech is personally abhorrent to me.
Today that
When
no
s-
action will be taken. What action will be taken?
When speech crosses into conduct that violates our policies, including policies against bullying, harassment, or intimidation, we take action, and we have robust disciplinary processes that allow us to hold individuals accountable.
What action has been taken against students who are harassing and calling for the genocide of Jews on Harvard's campus?
I can assure you, we have robust
What
disciplinary
actions have been
processes
taken? I'm not
with
asking.
actions underway.
I'm asking what actions have been taken against
Given-
those students.
Given students' rights to privacy and our obligations under FERPA, I will not say more about any specific cases other than to reiterate that processes are ongoing.
Do you know what the #1 hate crime in America is?
I know that over the last couple of months, there has been an alarming rise of anti-Semitism, which I understand is the critical topic that we are here to discuss.
That's correct. It is anti-Jewish hate crimes. And Harvard ranks the lowest when it comes to protecting Jewish students. This is why I've called for your resignation, and your testimony today, not being able to answer with moral clarity, speaks volumes. I yield back.
I mean, guys, It's just absolutely insane to me. Like, put any other group of people in there, and it would be outrageous for them to be saying what they just said right there. There needs to be more context. There needs to be more context. Oh, so they need to actually be killing Jews in order for there to be some sort of discipline? Like, it's, guys, and the thing is like, I'm not calling for these people to get expelled from college. I'm not asking for any of that, but you have to have some sort of discipline when protesting and rallies like this are turning into chants of completely getting rid of a certain group of people. Right? It doesn't matter if they're Palestinian, doesn't matter if they're Jew, doesn't matter if they're black, white, yellow, don't freaking matter. If they're holding a rally and thousands or hundreds of people are coming together and chanting the same thing, you need to hold them accountable in some sort of a way. Some sort of a way. Okay? And these are the same people, right? These are the same colleges that are saying that you can't be fat phobic. You can't say anything that hurts people that are fat's feelings, and different things like this that are just so petty. But when it comes to talking about chanting about the destruction of a group of people, that requires more context. You're out of your mind. You're out of your mind. Like, it's just so crazy, guys. It's so crazy to me. And at least, luckily, UPenn made the right decision, and UPenn is over here, and they got rid of Miss McGill. The University of Pennsylvania president and board chair resign as anti-Semitism testimony draws backlash. The University of Pennsylvania's president has resigned amid pressure from donors and criticism over testimony at a congressional hearing where she was unable to say under repeated questioning that calls on campus for the genocide of Jews would violate the school's conduct policy. The chairman of the Ivy League Schools Board of Trustees, Scott Bach, also resigned, the university said Saturday evening, just hours after Bach announced Liz McGill's departure as president in just her second year. The university said McGill will remain tenured faculty member at the University Carey Law School. So get this, guys. So she lost her job as president, but they're still keeping her on board as a tenured professor. These people were just stacking up jobs. They were stacking up paychecks. She was getting a paycheck for being president. She was getting a paycheck for being a tenured professor at the college. Wow, man. Oh, it sucks. She's not the president no more, but she's still able to teach these girls, still able to teach these guys, still able to teach every student in the school. Like, this is just absolute insanity. It's just absolutely insane. And then a police officer makes a slight wrong judgment in the type of force needed, and they get locked away for 10, 20 years. But these professors that are allowing, or these presidents of colleges are allowing thousands of people to protest and calling for the genocide of a group of people. And, it needs more context. It needs more context, guys. It's just absolutely laughable. It's laughable to me. But I want to know what you guys think. This was a crazy thing that happened, so I just want to make sure we're on the same page. And if we're not on the same page, let's discuss it. Let's talk about it in the comments. I'm the type that's going to respond to any comment that I see that deserves a rebuttal. Right? That they're not just trying to be emotional and they're actually just trying to bring up a point. I have no problem going back and forth and trying to find some common ground when it comes to this, guys. You know what I mean? That's the whole point of why I made this channel. So let me know in the comments, guys. Like, again, subscribe to the channel, like the video if you like the topic today as well. But I really appreciate you guys, and we just got to really keep coming together. That at the end of the day, we really got to just keep coming together and keep having these debates, keep having these talks. And the real people in this country are going to start standing up a lot more. So I really appreciate you guys. Have a great rest of your day. Again, have a great rest of your week. Stay blessed out there, and I'll see you on that next video.